My name is Angela Lanes, and I'm with Catholic Charities of Santa Clara County. This evening, I'm going to be talking about the California COVID-19 Rent Relief Program and some of the qualifications and checklists that tenants and landlords need to apply. So what is the COVID-19 Rent Relief Program? The Rent Relief Program is a state-funded program using local partners like Catholic Charities and Project Sentinel to help clients at the local level. It's state funding, so payment will come from the state, and agencies like us are here to help clients coordinate the online application. And the point of the program is to help families stay in their home and meet the minimum requirement to avoid eviction. So who can apply? Both landlords and tenants can apply. It's aimed towards tenants, but landlords can also apply and initiate the process, and I'll talk about that in a second. So what are some of the qualifications? Qualifications for both tenant and landlord. This is kind of a high-level overview, but there's some flyers that go further into the qualifications and checklists that we can make available as well. So one, being behind on rent or utilities, have experienced hardship due to COVID-19, and have a household income less than 80% of the area median income. For a landlord, some of the qualifications are being the property owner or property management agency who has legal authority to lease the unit, have one or more eligible tenants with unpaid rent between April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021, due to a COVID-related event. Have a tenant lease or written agreement with the eligible tenants or other evidence of a rental relationship, and agree to waive 20% of the unpaid rent for the above time period. So that's key for the landlord. Going into the checklist of what tenant and landlord need. So again, these are going to be high level, and then we'll get into some of the details later. So tenants see if they're eligible, as well as have an email address. This is mandatory to have an email address to complete the application online. Verify their identity, verify income for all household members over the age of 18, verify residence, verify rent owed, and verify utility owed. Some checklists for the landlord are decide as well if they're eligible and have an email address. Again, it's mandatory to have an email address to submit the application, and you'll see that more later. Verify tenants or tenants' residence and units, verify property ownership, verify rent owed. And today I know we're focusing on the tenant list. So here's kind of going a deeper dive into the specific checklist. So to verify identity, you would just need one of the following. So it could be a birth certificate, driver's license, employee ID card, marriage license or certificate. And for household members 18 and older, could be current school records, documented student status as a full-time, or a degree or a certificate granting that institution. For verifying income, again, all household members over the age of 18 must provide one of the following. So it could be tax forms, W-2, most recent paycheck stubs, employer-generated report, earning statements, or current bank statements. Verify residence, again, just one of the following. So a lease agreement, official letter from a third party showing name and address, government issued library card, and utility statements from providers. Again, just one of the following is needed to upload the application. To verify rent owed, again, just one of the following. So a current lease signed by the tenant and the landlord that identifies the unit address and establishes the rental payment amount. If you don't have a signed lease, proof of rent may also include maybe a bank statement, check stub, or other proof that shows a pattern of payment monthly or however it is distributed, or written confirmation by a landlord who can be verified as the actual owner or management agent of where you rent. To verify utility payments, so utility bill showing past or current due amount, that's going directly to the utility company. They're getting paid directly as well. And here are an example of proof of governmental benefits that verify income, residence, and identity simultaneously. So this list could verify the three, all together. So Medicaid, WIC, SNAP or CalFresh, food distribution program, temporary assistance for needy families, school nutrition, subsidized housing, any household income, based state or federally funded, and any locally operated assistance program for low-income persons or households that require household income. Again, I know it's a lot on one slide, so the slides are going to be handed out at the end for more detail. So how much assistance is provided? From a max standpoint, 80% of past due rent from the time period of April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021 will be paid. That's with landlord participation. If the landlord does not want to participate, the tenant can still apply a loan and receive 25% of past due rent from April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021. And qualified renters can apply for up to 25% of future rent for the months of April, May, and June of 2021. So from the minimum perspective, it's 25% that the tenant can still get. And from the latest moratorium, that will guarantee that the tenant will stay within the home and cannot be evicted if that amount is paid. How do clients apply? So like I mentioned, Catholic Charities and Project Sentinel are both local partners helping the state distribute the funds to help local people apply to the program for the state to distribute the funds. So from a process perspective for Catholic Charities, for myself, so a client could call Catholic Charities program number, either the tenant or the landlord, and would get just an initial phone screening, asking some qualification questions, and then they would get an appointment scheduled for them with one of our case managers. That appointment can be over the phone, it can be virtually through Zoom or Google Meet, any FaceTime, anything like that, or in person as well. And prior to the appointment, a case manager will send the checklist of the detailed bullets that I went over previously to help the client get ready for the appointment. And then during that appointment, depending on need, the case manager can help the client fill out the application on the state website. So what that's looked like so far, we launched last week, I believe, and initial phone calls are just getting them situated, explaining the program a little bit more if someone has just heard of it, and then maybe a follow-up appointment is made in person, or some people have successfully just done it over Zoom to help the client fill out the application on their own. And once the client's application is started, it can be saved and continued later. And how do clients apply? So this is our Catholic Charities program phone number. That would be that step number one, where you can call that number and get screened by one of our teammates to get an appointment with the case manager, or online directly. You don't need a referral from an agency to apply. You can go directly online on your own and fill it out. If you start and you need help, you can definitely reach out to Catholic Charities or Project Sentinel. And again, you must have an email to apply. And I believe Project Sentinel is going to get into that when they show the portal and the website, but that's the only way that clients can check their status. If someone comes to Catholic Charities, there's no way one of our case managers can see how their application is doing, because we don't have special back access to that. So with that, I don't know if we want to pause for questions here, and then we can go on for Emily and Joan.
Thank you very much, Angela. I have a couple of questions that are in the Q&A that I thought I would relay to you. One is an estimate of how long before one could be interviewed by Catholic Charities.
So currently we have a call system that answers English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And once someone gets a phone call, as of now, our phone lines have been pretty open. So we answer on the first attempt. So we don't have a voicemail system set up. So we've been able to answer the calls that way. And then they would get scheduled for an appointment. So it's pretty immediate. There isn't any kind of call you back time currently. So once someone calls, we can set you up with an appointment for the case manager. And then depending on their availability, as well as yours, if it's an in-person or phone first, they would schedule that appointment.
Thank you. And then another question, which we do get frequently, is what about the immigration status of renters undocumented? Are they still eligible?
Yes, so the program application does not ask anywhere about status. It doesn't ask to upload any status documents or anything of that nature, but it is a state program. So all of that information to apply is given to the state of California. That's kind of how the state has been answering that question as well. But as far as we understand, there is no immigration status question on the application.
Yes, and the state has put that in their materials, that immigration status is not information that is requested. A couple of questions which are related is, it has to do with repeat filing. So one person asks, can someone that has received help in the past refile?
Yes, as long as their assistance they're asking for has not already been covered. So for example, Catholic Charities, we had a program last year from July to December. Any client of ours that received assistance can apply for any month that we did not cover. So they can still apply for January, February, and March because we didn't run our program during these months. So as long as it's not double paying any month, they can apply for that assistance. And the state has a few different spots on their materials that says, you know, they verify other systems to make sure no one is like double applying or receiving double assistance as well.
And I'm going to reframe just to get the information out there. We talked about back rent and future rent, but maybe you can explain a little bit how the future, if you apply for future rent, I believe it's in 3-month increments.
Yes, I believe the max is just the next 3 months of April, May, and June. And from my understanding from other state partners that have explained the way they apply is you can apply all at once for those three months. And I believe once you submit your application, you cannot go back and edit it. So even if you're not sure if you can make May or June, I believe you can still apply for those months and then the system determines what you're eligible for. And I don't think you need to have past due rent to apply for future rent. You just need to show that you will be housing unstable by the next month.
Thank you, Angela. I think we'll go on to the next section. And Joanne, I'm going to turn over the questions to you. So, I'm not doing this. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. So thank you, Angela, for going over all the details. So some of this information might be repeated, but we understand that it's somewhat complicated and it's a lot. So that could be of use to people. So we're going to talk a little bit about the rent application, relief application process. Angela touched upon eligibility. We want to go through a few things here because they will come up on the application. There's 3 primary prongs of being eligible for tenants. So at least one person in the tenant household must meet 3 of the following criteria. They need to have either qualified for unemployment, experienced reduction or loss of income, incurred significant cost, or experienced other financial hardship due to COVID-19. We want to stress that the declaration of COVID-19 related financial distress, which is a form that would be served with any notice to pay or quit and is on the state's website in several languages, signing that form under penalty of perjury. There are 6 listed reasons and they are pretty broad. So a lot of things can be related to COVID-19. But if you fall into one of those and you sign it under penalty of perjury, that declaration is evidence of this hardship. So that's, you will see that in the application processes. You would click, you can access the form at that point and upload it. And then the second prong is demonstrate that there are tenants at a risk of homelessness or housing instability. And this can be evidenced by a number of things, but we want to stress that just receiving a notice to pay or quit from your landlord, having any past due rent meets this requirement. So it may have the application may have a whole list of examples, but if you have received a notice to pay or quit or a past due utility, that is evidence. And if you need assistance in understanding what else, if you don't have that, please email Project Sentinel or contact Catholic Charities to learn how you might demonstrate that. And then the third prong, and there's been a question about this, is that the household income is not more than 80% of the area median income. So area median income is a statistic that's a government statistic that's gathered at the federal level by county, where they try and figure out what the median income is for a family of 4, and then they make all these assumptions to determine what income levels people may be at. So here we have put what the area median income for 80%, 50%, and 30%, what 30% of the area median income would be for residents of Santa Clara County. These are based on household income limits in 2020. So if you look at it, if you are a family of 4 and you earn $112,000, $150 or less, you are 80% or below of the AMI. If you are over those last, so each number represents how many people are in the household, and then each of the brackets is a different income levels. We want to clarify that this takes into account the income of everyone in the household who is over 18. So even if you have roommates, if there's 3 roommates living in an apartment, the household is considered all the income earners in that household, and it would have to be added together. As Angela explained earlier, qualified tenants can receive relief for back rent and prospective rent, utility payments, and possibly other housing expenses. But those are in order of priority. Joanne, were there any questions about income levels still?
No, I'm not seeing anything about income levels. I only just saw the first question that was just asking what area median income was.
And I also should note that this is based on 2020. We understand that when tenants answer certain screening questions, either on the website or otherwise, these income limits might be higher. They might be based on 2021. They might be based on a hybrid. So we want people, if you're right in the range of those bottom numbers, if you're a household of 2 and you make you made $90,000, try to apply anyway, because they may be applying a higher amount. We just wanted to give you the numbers for 2020 so people kind of understand what that means. So this is a graphic that was prepared by the state to show how this process works. So like we said, landlords and tenants, what happens is either side can initiate the application process. There's 2 sides. So the landlord is going to verify some information and the tenant is going to verify some information. So if your landlord has initiated the process, that's great, because they have better access to things like lease documents and rent ledgers showing how much has been owed and what the rent was. So if they do their side and to initiate the application, the tenant would receive an email inviting them to participate, and it includes a link to the portal for the application. At that point, the tenant will set up their registration and start verifying the information that the landlord's provided, and then they will also have to upload some documents to verify their identity and residence. Once both those sides are complete, I'm still at the top of this process document. There's case management on the state side that will work with tenant and landlord to verify and complete any missing or information that needs to be clarified. And then at that point, the applications would be completed and the landlord would receive 80% compensation. And to be clear, because I think this question was in the Q&A, the landlord at the very outset is agreeing to take payment of 80% of the back rent and they are waiving the 20%. They cannot legally go after you for that 20% that they have committed to waiving through this process. And if you have other concerns about that, I encourage you to contact Project Sentinel and we can inform you in more detail of the rights under the eviction moratorium laws. So if a tenant does not, if they don't respond to the email, it's our understanding that there's multiple attempts to reach out to the tenant. We are encouraging landlords to work with their tenants to let them know that they've started the process and hopefully get their email and let them know what's going to happen. If the tenant does not participate, the application is incomplete. So if a tenant initiates an application, what happens is a case ID is created. Please ignore the 5 digits. We have a lot more people in California, so that digit's probably going to be more like 6 or 7. And then an email is sent to the landlord inviting them to participate, and it includes a link to the application portal and the case ID number. So landlords are getting a case ID number because they might have multiple tenants who are applying. And they'll type in the ID number and that will match them up with the tenant. And at that point, the landlord will go through their side. They will be asked to waive 20% to, in order to receive 80%. They'll upload proof of ownership and validate the lease or upload the lease. And then it goes back up to the case management. If the landlord ignores everything, refuses to participate, and multiple attempts are made by the case manager, then the case manager will once they've gone through all their attempts and there's still no contact with the landlord, they will complete the application process and the tenant will receive 25% of the back rent owed. And this ensures that the tenant will be protected from eviction for those unpaid rent amounts. And also we'll get this question, if a landlord and a tenant independently apply, everything's going to be matched up by address. So the first step is to go to the state's website, which we've typed out here. You can either access it by going to housingiskey.com or laviviendaesclave.com or www.housing.ca.gov. All these links should work if you've accessed the slides that we dropped in the chat earlier. Joanne's going to go into more detail with her video about what this will look like. Also, 211 has launched in partnership with the state a way for you to complete the initial screening and get linked to the portal on your phone. So if you text to 211-211 rent, the first question you will get is welcome to housingiskey.com in United Way. And then what language is your preference? You'll type your language, and then it will go into a series of questions to identify what county or city you're in, if you're a tenant or a landlord. And I clicked in this one, the landlord. So you'll see it immediately asks the landlord if they have a tenant, an eligible tenant, and they agree to waive 20% of the back rent. So I encourage those of you who are, if you're not watching on your phone, to maybe try this out and see how it works. It will eventually take you to the website on your phone. And Joanne also has a short video about what the website will look like on your phone, because you can complete your application on your phone as well. So we have a few tips that we've learned so far. As Angela explained, you do need an email address to create the account on the application portal and apply. Both Catholic Charities and Project Sentinel can help people figure out how to set that up. We are encouraging people who may not be as technologically savvy to see if they have a trusted friend or relative that can support them in this. There's also local partners who are doing in-person appointments who can do more hands-on help, but we're trying to give people the tools and information to learn how to do this on their own and get through this process. We are strongly encouraging both landlords and tenants to inform each other if they're initiating an application. That's going to make everything go a lot smoother and faster. So if a tenant is wanting to apply, they may want to ask if their landlord can initiate the process, because the landlord, like I said, has access to all this documentation and information that might be easier for them to upload. And then we also want to give people a heads up that the email that a tenant or landlord will receive after the others applied, the heading will look like this. It'll say from California COVID-19 rent relief. And then the domain name for the email is Neighborly Software. Now, Neighborly Software is the program that this application is running on. We want to let people know so they don't think it's a phishing scam or anything like that. And again, we're encouraging landlords and tenants to continue to communicate with each other, to work together to complete the application. So as Joanne will show you, once you create an account, you don't have to complete the application in one time and sit down. You can come back to it and start where you left off. So if you need some help with some information, or you don't understand something, you can contact us. You can work with your landlord. Just got to keep at it to get it through. First, also wanted to show everyone our website. So this is Project Sentinel's website is housing.org. We have created a web page for all things COVID-19 for renters and landlords and homeowners. We have links to the state's forms, to the state's checklist. We have statewide eviction protection information. I saw there were questions about the declaration of financial distress form. We have videos on there. I strongly encourage you to visit this website. We update it as more information comes about. We're trying to include local programs as well. And also the instructional video that we're going to watch in a little bit will eventually be posted here. So if you want to come back to relearn or rewatch it, certain sections, please bookmark this webpage. And then here is the state's number. So at any point you can call, it's 833-430-2122 to get connected to a local partner or to get some basic questions answered if you're having troubles with the application. This is another resource. And Joanne, are there any questions you have for me?
There are quite a bit of questions that are being asked in the chat right now, so I'll try to get to one that's actually about income that you asked for before, but they asked this right after you moved on. So first is for area median income, is this actually gross income or net?
Correct, it is gross income.
Okay. And a lot of
Angela
questions.
can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so there's also questions about qualifying as risking homelessness or showing housing instability if they're only applying for future rent and they don't have any, past due rent notices or utility payment notices. How can they show proof of risk of homelessness?
So I think it says in the guidelines, any other evidence that may show. So if you have loss of income and you have a bank statement, there also can be attestations of little or no income. Those are types of questions that we encourage you to email us at erap@housing.org. We can put that in the chat. Those specific questions, our trained staff can research for you and work with you to figure out what kind of evidence you can provide.
Okay, great, thanks. I can put that in the chat now. And then also we had a question about whether or not AMI refers to income before possible reduction in hours or income due to COVID.
This is based on what is reported on your taxes or what there's lots of ways to calculate it and to figure it out. And I think there's even a calculator on the application.
Okay. A couple questions about housemates. So first is, this person is asking what housemates means. If there is a house with 3 tenants who never interact and have nothing connected with paying rent, they do not share their income information with each other, they're not aware of whether one of them is paid or not, and they each pay separately, are they still able to move forward with applying?
I think this is a difficult question to respond to, and we would like to know the specifics of the situation. So we encourage you to email us with the specifics of that situation. We really would like to help people with actual issues rather than hypotheticals when it's something as complicated as that.
Okay, and we have quite a bit of questions, but I'll try to get to some before we move on. This is a.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll just pick off a couple here. So there's questions about the incentive for the landlord to participate in the process is because they're going to receive 80%. And they're asking if there's any kind of penalty. So we have explained in other webinars, and we do explain in our webinar to landlords that if they don't cooperate or if they don't cooperate with the rent relief process of a tenant's initiated application, or they make no attempts to share rent relief information with their tenant, including trying to apply themselves, they are probably going to be barred from being able to collect the full amount in court. So there's very specific laws now that a landlord has to show the efforts that they made to cooperate or obtain relief on behalf of their tenant. They have to show that in their lawsuit, or else they will be precluded from getting a judgment for the full amount. And if you want to pick out a couple more, then we may want to move on.
I know one common question for landlords is whether if they receive rent relief funds, whether or not those are taxable.
Yeah, and you would have to check with your CPA, but presumably it is in replace of rental income. So I imagine that it would be treated like rental income. And I usually say this at the outset of the presentation, that Project Sentinel we are neutrals. We provide tenant and landlord counseling. We cannot give legal advice or legal opinions. We can provide education and best practices and referrals to where you can find answers that call for a legal opinion. Okay, I think we should move on to Joanne's part. Let me stop sharing my screen. And for those of you who may have joined after I put in the chat, I will put the slides in the chat again. So Joanne Pham has put together a video showing her going through the application itself. So I'll let you take over.
Thanks, Emily. So we can pause in certain parts of this video if you all have questions about that specific section. I will pause it myself anyhow, just to clarify some areas that are either not visible in the video or just weren't touched on during the video. But please do enter any questions in the Q&A box so that we can try and get to them during the video.
I think you may have to share the audio.
Sorry about that, everyone. My name is Joanne. I'm with Project Sentinel, and I'm here to show you how to navigate the state application portal for rent relief. If you want to get to this homepage, you can actually go to housingiskey.com, which takes you to the same page. If you are a Spanish-speaking applicant, you can actually type in La Vivienda Esclave. If your primary language is not English, there's an option on the top right of this home page where you can select from a variety of languages that are powered by Google Translate. Although not 100% accurate, it can still help you navigate these helpful resources at the bottom of the page. But whenever you are ready to access the State Rent Relief Program application, you can click this purple box on the left, and to the right of that, if you are a Spanish-speaking applicant, you can click the light orange box. If you are a renter, click I'm a renter. Read through this program overview page just to familiarize yourself with the eligibility criteria. There's a useful checklist button here for the renter's checklist to have a more in-depth look at the types of documents you can upload in your application. And click New Application if you are a new applicant. So this takes you to this page where at the top left you can type in your city or county of residence. I would type in your full address just to be 100% sure you're applying in the correct portal. But in this case, for our demonstration, I'm just going to type in San Jose. You can also type in your zip code in place of your full address, but again, highly recommend your full address. This view hyperlink will take you to the portal that applies for your jurisdiction. And now you'll have to answer a few questions to make sure you are eligible for the program. You are a tenant. Are you a member of one of the following tribes? If not, click no. You can click Show More if you are a part of a tribe and need to double check. Is your household income at or below 80% of area median income for your county? Click which county you are located from the scroll bar. Click how many household members are in your household. So for a 4-person household in Santa Clara County, that number is $117,750. Is your annual household income under this amount? Click yes or no. This figure will change depending on how many household members you include. Next question, have you or anyone in your household qualified for unemployment benefits, experienced a reduction in income, or experienced other financial hardships due to COVID-19? Do you have a past due rent notice, an eviction notice, can demonstrate housing instability or risk of homelessness, past due utilities, or need assistance paying future rent or utilities? So if you've passed the eligibility questionnaire, you'll see this page and it'll give you this button to apply now. It also restates the different types of documents that you should be gathering before you start to apply or during your application before you submit. Once you've hit new application, you'll be taken to this registration page. You'll click the register tab over here and be able to enter your primary email address to receive notifications, first and last name, and you'll have to choose a password that meets the requirements listed down here. A minimum of 12 characters, including an uppercase and lowercase letter, number, and special character. But we'll log into our own account in order to show you the existing information that we've already pre-entered into the application. Also, if you are a non-English speaker, you can adjust the to a different language of these 6 options. You can choose Mandarin, English, Tagalog, Korean, Spanish, or Vietnamese. Once you've signed in, you'll be able to view the existing applications that you've previously started, but if you are new to this application process, you would click down here, click here to start a new application. Nothing would appear in this section, so these would be your only options, and just make sure you choose the tenant new application. But we'll continue from an existing one we've started. For anyone who is uncomfortable with technology, doesn't know how to upload documents online, or is just simply uncomfortable with this online application process, they do have the option to add a user by clicking View Users over here on the left side. clicking add a user and entering someone's email address here who they are entrusting to help them with the application. And once they click add, an email notification will be sent to that person at that email address, inviting them to create an account, and they will be able to see this application's case ID number in their homepage under continuing an existing application. You can't really easily delete these email addresses, so please be sure that the person you are allowing to help you with your application is someone you trust or is qualified as a local partner to help you with your application process. So this is a program overview page that actually gives really detailed information about the eligibility criteria as well as different documents that you can use to apply. This section here details the same documents we discussed earlier that you can use to verify your income, residence, as well as your identification. And once you've taken a look at all of this information, and you note there are different notices here that you should make sure to check for spam from emails from Neighborly Software. You can click complete and continue. This first section A is about eligibility criteria to make triple sure that you are eligible for the rent relief being offered. So you can go through the questions again. Are you seeking rent or utilities for assistance? Yes. You can click through and choose the county of residence, Santa Clara County in this case, and then make sure that the people in your household and your household income are below the income limit that generate in this table automatically after you choose the correct county. And then, can anyone in your household demonstrate that they are at risk of housing instability? Using one of these examples, yes. Has anyone in the household experienced financial impact related to COVID in one of these ways? Yes. And if you answered no to anything above, you are not eligible for this program. And then finally, there are additional lists of different jurisdictions that if you happen to be in one of these jurisdictions listed, you should be applying to those jurisdictions instead on their portals, not the Housing is Key portal, but in this case that does not apply. And then same here, if you are a part or a member of any of these tribal communities, then you would have to check this list and make sure that it is not listed. In this case, that does not apply. Under Applicant Information, Section B, you'll include all of your information, including your name and address, the county where you reside, the property type. There are several different types of properties to choose from, including a motorhome, accessory dwelling unit, or an in-law unit, hotels or motels, or other. If you choose a mobile home, you should check which is relevant to you, or both if they are relevant to you. If you rent it from someone who owns the mobile home, or if you are renting a space that is owned by a park owner. And if you selected other type of property in this drop-down menu, you would just explain what type of property that is and provide the closest cross streets. Under mailing address, if it's different from your home address, you would indicate that here. And then you would include your contact information, which is your phone and email, preferred method of communication, your primary language. If you were assisted by any of the members of the local partner network, you would indicate that here. And indicate how you heard about the rent relief application. And specify your preferred method of payment. If you choose ACH bank transfer, that's essentially the direct deposit or wire transfer method. And then you can also choose a mailed check. In this next section, you would upload all the names of the household members living in your residence, and that includes anyone who is listed on your lease, or even those who are not listed on your lease but reside in the unit. If you are roommates, then everyone signed on to the lease would be considered a household member unless there are special circumstances, which you can ask us about. So as an example, if you add a household member, they will be asking you whether or not they are employed, their date of birth, and the information about their employer if they are employed. And if they are employed, you will have to also include the amount of income that they make. So here you should indicate how they are related to you as a household member. And you do not have to answer whether, what race or ethnicity you are or gender. And in the next section, income verification, So I actually just want to just stop it here just 1 second. I'm going to bring it back a little bit. Income verification. Okay, so I wanted to just highlight here that there are 3 methods of certifying the type of, your income. You can actually use your 2020 federal tax return. You can verify your income by using any benefits letters or proof of receiving income through a governmental assistance program. And then you can also choose this, I guess, more specific circumstance where you have to use your current monthly income. And that's primarily the example that I'm showing right now. I also didn't mention that for household members in Section C, you should be indicating any minors that are living in the household. However, when you are documenting in Section D, the income verification, you will not have to indicate the minor's income. And also in this drop-down area here for the source of income, the different options there include such things as alimony and child support, investment income. It also has an option for, if they're a minor, no income, and you do not have to provide any documentation. You can also include pension, retirement, Social Security, unemployment compensation, and then gross pay would be the easiest one, which is for those who have likely filed their 2020 tax returns already. You will be asked to include the amount of income for those who you said had an employer, and then you would need to include at least 2 months of your most recent pay stubs, a W-2, or any other sort of document that proves that you receive some regular form of income on a monthly basis. When that is done, if you choose to indicate a monthly payment amount, there is this calculator that you will have to use in order to determine that. So if you include a document that only shows the past 2 months of actual income, then you would choose this tab here for a monthly rate. You would input how much that was per month, and then it would calculate it for you that this is how much over a 12-month span that is. If you want to generate it as an hourly rate instead, you can do that here, or partial year if there's a specific circumstance where this would make more sense. So I just wanted to quickly answer before we continued this video that we had a great question from someone who asked if they received both unemployment and other wages within the same year, how would they include that in the application? So there is this button here for adding another income source. So you can include one here in this section for that person, and then add another section if you had additional income elsewhere. And so for 2 of the household members, we noted that they just didn't have any income. And if there is a situation where you just do not have any documentation to support that you have no income, you can actually download this attestation form. It will download for you and you can fill it out. This is what the certification of zero income looks like. You would note your household name, your unit number, and your mailing address, and you would certify to each of the 3 paragraphs here under penalty of perjury and sign and print your name with the date. So once you've uploaded that certification of zero income, you can do that for this household member as well. And then for this household member, we have to add in their income. We can say that they've been receiving unemployment compensation, so you would have to upload those benefit letters or some other form of proof that you receive unemployment. And then you would use this calculator again to enter it as a partial year, an hourly rate, or a monthly rate. In this case, it's likely a monthly rate. And so we'll use this value by clicking here. And then you can, oh, it's not letting me hit complete and continue. That means I've missed something. So I'll go back up and see what is being flagged. So I realized what was not allowing me to continue on this page. It was because I failed to upload a document here. And now I can continue. So we just had one more question. That's also a great question about income verification if you are paid in cash and do not have the ability to show proof of income. We are currently working on that. There is mention of a certification of low income as opposed to a certification of zero income. However, there is an option in the drop-down menu for source of income as other, and it allows you to upload any type of document that you feel can support what you are stating about your situation. And so if you do have any sort of verification of, depositing regular amounts of income, then perhaps you can upload that, but it is currently just being, we're waiting for the answer on that ourselves. Under section E, you're going to determine how you were financially impacted by COVID. First, you are supposed to confirm that that is the case here in the first question. The second question, you would check all that apply to you in terms of how your income was reduced or how you incurred significant costs. You can check more than one. And if none of the above listed reasons apply to you, then you can list your own unique situation here or explain it here. And then finally, in order to prove that you were financially impacted by COVID in some way, the only supporting document that is required of you is the declaration of COVID-19 financial distress form, which if you have never been served with one by your landlord, you can click here to take a look at what that looks like. It looks like this. It shows that you have experienced one or more of the following 6 things listed here, and that you are signing this under penalty of perjury with a signature, date, and you should do your best to serve this on your landlord in one of the ways listed here. So once you upload that COVID-19 declaration of financial distress form, you would click complete and continue. So we had a question from one of the participants this evening, Cecilia, which Emily will address.
Cecilia, you had your hand raised. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to ask your question. If it was an accident, that's fine. If you need me to, okay. I don't know if I can unmute you. Oh, there we go. There's another question. Christina, I don't think I have the power to allow people to unmute. Can you?
Yes, let me, one moment. Okay. Okay, you should have ability to speak.
Cecilia, you can unmute if you still have a question. Okay, Christina, can you allow Luz del Carmen to?
Yes. This is interesting. Apologies for the technical difficulty, but it's saying that Luis has an older version of Zoom.
Okay,
What we could do maybe is I have everyone's email, so we could follow up with them via email after.
okay. We'll make note. Was it Luz or Cecilia?
Luis.
Joanne, I think you can go on.
Okay, thank you. So in this next section, if you click no that you are not requesting rental assistance, you can go ahead and move forward. But if you are requesting rental assistance, either back rent or future rent, then you can fill out the information here, enter your landlord's information, including their address, such as a property manager address, and their phone number and email. You would note the monthly rent owed, how much you owe in back rent, and then you would upload the lease or other document that proves that you have a monthly obligation to pay rent. And then you would list the amount of rent owed for each of the months where you were not able to pay a full amount of rent. And then in this section right here for April 2021 through June 2021, you can request prospective rent or future rent. And then you would note any late fees you were charged here in this section. For any late fees that are charged to you, do not include that in the monthly rent section. Always include that down here at F6.
Joanne, can you
So
pause for a second?
here, if you are not, yes.
Hi, I want to point out, and I'll probably mention this later, there's times when this application may not match up with our understanding of rights and responsibilities under state law. And this is one example, the example of late fees. Late fees are not supposed to be levied on these unpaid rent amounts. You can include them if you have been charged them, but whether or not a landlord can collect them is a legal question. But just because the application asks you a question does not necessarily mean that that was permitted. I just want to highlight that because it's something we have to remind landlords about as well. Thank you, Joanne.
No problem. That was a great point. Requesting any utility assistance, you can click no, and this section will disappear. And then you can click complete and continue. But if you are requesting that assistance, then you would have to complete the requested information. You would have to upload an actual invoice that is required for any utility assistance being requested. And then you would indicate the water or gas company name and company address, as well as the account information, since all payments for utility assistance will be paid directly to the utility provider. And then indicate the amounts that you were unable to pay since April 2020. And if you're requesting any future utility assistance, then you would indicate that here. And we understand if you don't have the actual documentation, an estimate here will likely work, but please do give us a call if you have questions. And if you were charged any late fees, there is a section for it down here. You should not group it with the actual amounts owed in these months. Okay, we had another great question from an anonymous person who asked if the utility bill is not under their name, can they still receive assistance for that? The guidance that we've received is if you can show a regular pattern of payment for those utilities. I know that a lot of housemates can sometimes pay through Venmo. If you can show a regular payment of that each month, then that is acceptable as proof that you pay for those utilities, but you would still need to include the utility account number, the utility provider name, address, and phone number so that they can verify the information. And then finally, the same would be done here for trash and sewer. If it does not apply to you, you can click no, but if it does, you can fill out the requested information. Same with electric and other utility assistance. So other utility assistance would be used for such things as internet service, in section J, regarding prior assistance received, you would note whether or not you received any prior assistance for rent or utilities. In this case, we're just pretending that yes, we did receive assistance from another resource at one point in time. So I would not be able to actually request the full amount of rent for section F for this month if I receive that full amount. But we're just going to pretend that we didn't request it there and we indicated it here. Under the source, we would include, one of these programs here, but if you're not sure who you received that award from because it's been such a long time ago, then you can actually just leave that blank and it won't fault you from continuing on the application. You can include any award letters here if you do know the actual source of that assistance, but otherwise you can click complete and continue. Finally, in section K, you'll need to verify your identity, residency, and the amount of rent owed. So you would have to gather at least one of the following documents in each of these sections that are listed here, and then upload them at the bottom. And finally, once you are done with that section, you are ready to submit your application. Please read through this final page very carefully, as this is a binding agreement in exchange for your rent relief. And if you agree to everything that is noted there, then you would click these paragraphs, check boxes if you agree. And finally, you would sign by clicking here and typing in your name. Before you hit complete and submit, we would recommend going through the application again, especially where there is contact information and rent being requested, and double check that you have input the correct information, uploaded the correct documents, and that you have the correct contact information for the landlord and the utility provider so that you don't have to go through and fix that later. Also, be sure to check the home page and contact the state call center at this number or this email address, 833-430-2122, or support at ca-rentrelief.com if you have any questions about your application before you submit. Once you hit submit, you will not be able to fix your application without contacting an administrator to have it reopened, and then that will be considered an amended application and it may delay your award. So that is all for the tenant rent relief application process through the state portal. If you have any questions, do contact the call center for the state at their number or their support email, and then you can also contact one of the local partners with the state, including Project Sentinel or Catholic Charities. Okay, so we're just going to take a brief break and pause. Sorry, go ahead, Emily.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you so much, Joanne. So Joanne's going to, after this, she's going to show a little video of what it looks like from a mobile phone, which actually can be very helpful, and people may have questions about how you upload documents if you don't have access to a computer and scanner. So through the mobile app, through the mobile access, she's going to show you how you can take pictures to upload documents. But we want to stop and see if anybody had any questions so far about if you need us to go back to any section. And you can raise your hand if you like. Hopefully we'll be able to allow you to unmute. Oh, I see 2 raised hands. So we have, thank you, Angela. Enrique Rizzo. Christina, are you available or able to allow him to unmute?
Yep, you should be available now.
Okay,
You'll have to unmute.
so Enrique, if you can unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate what you guys are doing on showing us all these little details. And my question or my concern, I'm trying to understand the whole program. I know you guys mentioned this program will benefit the landlord and the tenants on the past payments, correct? Past monthly rent payments. But I also noticed, or you mentioned, this is also for the future months. Does that mean that this program is going to continue for the rest of the year, or how's that going to work?
So right now, this is the first set of funding. The funding for this program came originally from the federal government at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So this program is designed to cover that arrearage, that back rent between April and March or this April. And then it also is aiming to help tenants who still are struggling to be able to pay that 25% that they need for protection from eviction. So that's that program. There has been further federal legislation passed and funding that is expected, but we don't know the parameters yet of what the state will do, but we do expect additional funding, and it may go through this program as well. This is the state administered portion. There are additional federal funds that will be targeted for Santa Clara County, but that will be run through a different program, but are targeted for the very, very low income, like less than 30% AMI, people who may not have traditional living arrangements. But we're encouraging anybody who can get through this process to try to get access to as much of this funding as possible, but
Sure.
we're pretty confident this is not the end.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
And I think Luz del Carmen.
He was saying that we couldn't unmute, but maybe he can
Oh,
question in the Q&A.
okay. I'll let Joanne do the mobile portion, and then at the end, I'm going to go over a couple other questions in a more broad way, and then people can have another opportunity to ask questions if they like. So go ahead, Joanne.
This will be a quick one, so just a moment. So I'll have to narrate this one. This is the home page as it appears through a mobile phone. You would click the same information to access the portal, and it'll take you through the usual eligibility questionnaire as well. Once you click new application, you can click continue application if you've already applied and are just continuing. So you can enter in your address at the top bar. As you can see, it's pretty similar to how it appears on a computer. So on this portion, you won't be able to see the view/edit button as you do on a page, but then if you just click the correct section, it'll pop up right away. And this arrow over here is where you will see the actual sections of your application when you click it. So as you can see, it highlights blue. And I'm just going to show a sample in this video of how you can upload directly from your phone, but I won't be actually taking any pictures, but I'll show you basically how it looks like. And so these are the different options that appear when you're able to upload. You can either choose a photo from your photo library, browse some other documents if you have PDF applications on your phone, or you can take a photo directly if you have paper documents on hand. And that's all for that video.
Thank you, Joanne. So hopefully you could see how it had the camera option. So this is an excellent way for people who may not have easy access to computer to be able to do much of the application on their phone. We've gotten some questions about how long it takes to fill out an application and you know, how Catholic Charities or Project Sentinel can help people. So the application is going to take as long as the tenant is prepared. That's what the purpose of these webinars are to try to help tenants prepare as best as possible, so that when they do go through the application, it will be as smooth as we can help make it. Project Sentinel is in a position to help people by phone or by Zoom. We help many tenants and landlords in Santa Clara County with other tenant landlord questions. And when people are calling us with rent relief specific, we have a team of case managers who are taking time to work with tenants and landlords to answer their questions and guide them through the application. But neither Catholic Charities nor Project Sentinel or any other partner is actually submitting the application for tenants. This is all designed for tenants to do on their own through this web portal. Catholic Charities is able to make in-person appointments to help tenants complete that online. But it's a little different than other rent relief programs have been. So the best thing we can do is answer as many questions and provide as much phone support as we can. So the screenshot is sort of similar to a photo. So you're permitted taking a photo of a document like your bank statement or something like that. That's a true reproduction, and that works. And the state has a very vested interest in making sure their website is secure. And that would be a question for state officials. I want to open it up to anybody if you have any questions. Also, just a reminder that we're going to send out a survey, and we really appreciate any feedback you have about this webinar, because we want to improve as much as possible to help people understand how to do this. And I want to thank Joanne for walking through the whole application. We will try to get that video up on our website soon so people can refer to it later. And I'm going to answer one more question. So going back to the slide that I had showed for the process, which I think I will share really quickly. Once both sides of the application are complete, then there is a case manager with the state's implementer. And that's who you would work with if you had additional documentation or if they needed more clarification. That is this, oops. So the case management purple box on the right side refers to the state's implementer. So again, here's the website, and I'm going to leave you with our website. There were some questions about the declaration and statewide eviction. We have videos posted from previous webinars. We have other information, plus contact information if you want to get more specific help. Joanne, are there any other questions we should take out of the Q&A?
Yeah, I saw one that I definitely could answer, or two of them I could answer. So one question is whether there are other authorized agencies that can help fill out this application. Yes, there is a page on the Housing is Key website where you can click, after clicking the purple box, there should be a section called Partner Resources where you can take a look at the different agencies that serve a certain jurisdiction.
And also, I just put up the Housing is Keys flyer slide. You can always call that number. You don't need to go access the web. A tenant can call that number and be connected to an agency or make an appointment with an agency that can assist them depending on what their needs are. And also, if you're having technical issues with the website, you can try the 833-430 number 2122. If we learn that there's another number for technical assistance, we'll send that to you. But I believe all your questions can be taken to that 833 number that's on the screen, and you will either be connected to another party that will help you. But that's supposed to be a good place to start.
That's a good point. A number that people can call to schedule appointments with members of the local partner network, depending on where they live, is also 833-687-0967. I'll put that in the chat, but in case you can't access the website, that's where you can go.
I thought it was the same number. So
No, that's okay. And then another question that's being asked is it common that the website has technical issues? Someone has tried to apply and kept getting logged out. So that actually happened to me when I tried going through the mobile application completely. For some reason, it shut me out about 5 times, but it kept letting me log in. So that is a disappointment, and we'll definitely flag that. But for the online computer application, I did not experience that issue. So if you are experiencing it with your computer, maybe we can try and flag that as well.
yeah, we will bring questions that we get frequently to the organization that's implementing this program, and if it would be good to know if it's just a problem on mobile. Statewide, this is being used, so imagine other people might be reporting. There is also the support at that first page. What was it? Support at in the COVID rent relief.
Support at ca-rentrelief.com.
So that's another place you can email to report those technical issues. Okay, I'm going to see if no one has their hands raised. Oh, with Enrique. Enrique, if you want to
Yes.
come off mute. Yeah.
Yeah, just really quick. You gotta send us the slides. They're pretty cool. I would like to have the slides. Are you gonna send us that?
Yeah, so I put them in the chat a couple times, but we will send it out if you registered by email. I will put it into the chat one more time. Are you able to access the chat?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
Oh, you
Thank
got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see it.
Yeah, so everybody, if you just click on the chat, I uploaded the PDF of the file, so you should be able to download it.
Okay.
But
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, there's no further questions. We'll wrap it up. I want to thank you all for spending your evening, and thank you in advance for any feedback you give on the survey. Please visit our website. Every time we get new information, we are trying to get it up there. So we want this to be a good resource for Santa Clara County residents and other Bay Area residents.